What's going on with Turkey and Vladimir Putin? Did Turkey just say sorry to Russia? President grovels as Putin retaliates for downing jet. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered sanctions against Turkey as tensions between the two nations reach boiling point. President of Turkey has said his country is deeply saddened by the downing of a Russian jet. After he shot it down? President Putin today called for a ban on Turkish goods and forbid extensions of labor contracts for Turks working in Russia just days after Turkey downed a Russian warplane. The decree, published on the Kremlin website, also called for ending chartered flights from Russia to Turkey and for Russian tourism companies to stop selling vacation packages that would include a stay in Turkey. It did not specify which Turkish goods are to be outlawed from the country. The sanctions came as Turkey expressed its first hint of regret over the Russian jet incident, with its president declaring the country has been left truly saddened. A fierce war of words were sparked this week after a Russian Su-24 bomber was hit on Syrian-Turkish border, killing one of the pilots on board. Turkey had insisted the warplane was told to change its route, but the surviving pilot retaliated to their claim by declaring no warnings were made. The plane was seen careering down, then bursting into flames before the smoke billowed from the crash. Russia also claimed their plane was not over Turkish airspace when the jet was shot down, an allegation denied by Turkey, as the country also insisted it did not know the jet was Russian. But now Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has for the first time voiced regret over the incident, as he said his country wished it hadn't happened. Sounds like worldly sorrow to me that Paul Apostle wrote in 2 Corinthians 7:9. He's getting all these sanctions against him and now he's feeling regret. Addressing supporters in the western city of Balıkesir, he said, "We are truly saddened by this incident. We wish it hadn't happened as such, but unfortunately such a thing has happened. I hope that something like this doesn't occur again." He added that neither country should allow the incident to escalate and take a destructive form that would lead to saddening consequences. However, President Erdogan's friendly stance took a solemn turn as he once again defended the action and criticized Russia for its operations in Syria. How's that for an apology? He said, "If we allow our sovereign rights to be violated, then the territory would no longer be our territory." That's humbleness, isn't it? President Erdogan also renewed his plea for a meeting with Vladimir Putin, who has refused to take his calls until Turkey apologized to Russia. The Russian leader has denounced the Turkish action as a treacherous stab in the back and has insisted the plane was downed over Syrian territory in violation of international law. Mr. Putin's foreign affairs advisor said the Kremlin had received Mr. Erdogan's request for a meeting, but refused to say whether the pair would talk. When asked why President Putin had not responded to the Turkish president's phone calls, Yuri Yushkov said, "We have seen that the Turkish side hasn't been ready to offer an elementary apology over the plane incident." Following the incident, Russia deployed a long-range S-400 air defense missile systems to a Russian airbase in Syria to help protect Russian warplanes. And by the way, these S-400 missile systems are brand new and are far more advanced than the S-300s. The Russian military also warned it would shoot down any aerial target that would pose a potential threat to its planes. Russia has since also restricted tourist travel to Turkey. Alright, so what else is going on? It says here Russia strikes back. Putin's bombers hit Turkish border crossing in revenge for downed jet now. And that is today's date. Russia has launched a series of deadly strikes against Syrian rebel-held border crossings with Turkey in a revenge attack for the downing of one of its jets on Tuesday morning. I guess that apology just wasn't quite good enough. Vladimir Putin is seething at the downing of a Russian jet over western Syria. Syrian rebels reported that Russian forces were pounding areas in Syria's Latakia province, unleashing a wave of airstrikes on mountains near where the Su-24 warplane was shot down. Jahid Ahmad, a spokesman for the militia brigade in the region, said the Russians were taking revenge for the plane's downing by Turkey, a key backer of the rebels in the area. Speaking from inside Syria, he claimed Russian jets were providing cover for advancing Syrian ground forces and their Lebanese Hezbollah allies, but Turkey's state-run news agency and Syrian activists claimed the airstrikes on Wednesday had hit an aid convoy, killing 7 and wounding 10. In a further sign of Vladimir Putin's anger at the incident, which left one Russian pilot dead, Moscow announced plans to deploy state-of-the-art air defense missile systems in Syria. Kremlin officials described the incident as a planned provocation and have vowed a tough response. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, "We have no intention of fighting a war with Turkey." Doesn't seem to be the realistic answer, though, does it? Speaking on a trip to the Ural Mountain city of Nizhny Tagil, Putin added, "I hope that this, along with other measures that we are taking, will be enough to ensure the safety of our flights. S-400 missile systems will be sent to the Hamimen Air Base in Latakia, about 30 miles south of the border with Turkey." A Turkish army truck loaded with self-propelled gun heading to Syrian border. A Turkmen soldier whose militia group is under attack from Russia. The systems have a range of up to 250 miles and are capable of targeting Turkish jets with deadly precision. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu also confirmed the Russian missile cruiser Moskva has moved closer to shore to protect aircraft flying missions near Syria's border with Turkey using its long-range air defense system. At a meeting with the military officials, he said it will be ready to destroy any aerial target posing a potential danger to our aircraft. He added that from now on, all Russian bombers would be escorted by fighters on their combat missions in Syria. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia was forced to fly missions close to the Turkish border because that was where the militants tended to be located. Russian sorties are expected to continue in the area as Moscow seeks to warn Ankara off a second missile attack. And last but not least, now Putin threatens to withdraw from Syria ISIS raids if another Russian jet is shot down. Speaking to the U.S., Vladimir Putin has threatened to pull out of operations against Islamic State in Syria if another Russian jet is shot down. This came yesterday. The Russian leader warned he will pull out of coalition strikes. The Moscow leader warned his cooperation with the U.S.-led coalition will be jeopardized if there is any repeat of unacceptable military action against his air force. Speaking after talks with French President Francois Hollande, Putin voiced his anger with Turkey, claiming the country's actions were deemed an act of betrayal. Incidents like the destruction of our aircraft and the deaths of our servicemen are absolutely unacceptable. The ruthless Russian leader said, "We are ready to cooperate with the coalition, which is led by the United States, but of course, incidents like the destruction of our aircraft and deaths of our servicemen are absolutely unacceptable. And we proceed from the position that there will be no repeat of this. Otherwise, we'll have no need of cooperation with anybody, any coalition, any country." However, Putin said he would order Russia's military to intensify its cooperation with French forces, including exchanging information about targets. So it seems to be helping out the French even more, but warning the U.S.-led coalition that he might pull out. Kremlin leader said he viewed the promise as part of creating a broader international anti-terrorist coalition by bringing together Russia and Western countries. He said he and Holland had agreed how we will cooperate in the near future on a bilateral basis and with, as a whole, the coalition led by the United States. Putin added, "We are talking about a designation of the territories against which we can conduct strikes and where it is better to refrain from strikes, about the exchange of information on various issues and the coordination of our actions on, so to speak, the battlefield." The Russian leader said he wanted to avoid duplication and avoid strikes on those territories and groups which are themselves ready to fight terrorism. Turkey accused the Russian jet of flying into its airspace after shooting it down. He said, "We view this as the formation of a wide anti-terrorist coalition under the aegis of the United Nations. It comes days after the Russian Su-24 bomber was blasted out of the sky by the Turkish military for allegedly entering its airspace." Now, however, U.S. officials have since revealed that the flight's heat map suggested it was in Syrian airspace at the time, supporting Putin's claims. Syrian, not Turkish. Footage also emerged of both pilots allegedly being shot at by Syrian rebels shouting "Allah Akbar," killing one of them. There you go. Even the U.S. is agreeing with Putin now. Well, at least the U.S., what the U.S. has found. Yeah, it says U.S. officials. That'll be it for this report.